Shooting is at its peak right now, and I feel like there's a lot of techniques that were taught to players for decades that may not have been as effective as believed by the basketball world. Here are some things that I've noticed and learned when it comes to shooting. Let's check them out. We're going to start with some known phrases that are supposed to help players shoot the ball straight, which are feet should be square to the basket, and how elbows should be tucked in or straight right under the ball. However, I think these aren't necessarily always true because 1. Squaring one's feet to the basket doesn't mean his shot is aligned with the hoop correctly. In fact, it's most likely off as his arm is in the side of his body. If you look closely, Steph's feet are squared, but since his arm and elbow are on the side, it wouldn't go straight to the basket. Here's another look at this alignment. LeBron's right foot is straight to the basket, but his elbow would be flaring to the side. And tucking in the elbow does not feel natural for a lot of players. You can argue that Michael Kidd-Gilchrist has his elbow tucked in, but this is so uncomfortable to shoot from. I do understand why this would be taught to beginners, because they should be the foundation of one's form, but I think that this is too stiff for players as they get older, and they should start tweaking it with smoother ways like turning one's feet off to the side. This allows the player's elbow to be in line with the basket without having to tuck it in with discomfort. On this play, Trae Young literally have his feet towards the crowd, but his elbow is pointing straight to the rim. Then, squaring one's feet but turning midair is another way. Going back to this play by Curry, notice how he turns slowly to the left so that his right elbow can align correctly. Look at how his feet is now pointing towards the sideline. This is how he started his shot, and this is how it landed. Now, going back to LeBron's free throw, who's not known for hitting a lot of them, being aware to turn his feet like KD, who is great at them, should help him hit more free throws. Lastly, the tips does apply well to the direction the player is going, because if the player is going to the right, his feet would naturally be squared to the basket, which means he needs to turn in the air, versus when he's going to the left, his feet would already be turned, and so the elbow would just be aligned correctly.
Durant off one leg, sure.
And it would just be vice versa for left-handed players. These steps allow players to have their elbow in a comfortable position while still having it directly aligned with the basket. When it comes to getting more power on one shot, tips like low man wins or bend your knees lower were often used. But it is hard to sustain energy shooting like this, and the shooting release would be much slower. Wade was able to get away with it because outside shooting was never his strong suit. But for these players, having power and the quick release is essential, especially if they're getting triple teamed once they come off a screen. Plus, if a player has to bend his knees this low to be able to shoot further, I don't think he'll actually be able to take any of them to begin with. Instead, a couple of ways to get more power on one shot is to step into it, which is also known as the 1-2 step, or to hop into it. It's kind of like loading up to pitch in baseball, or running up for a free kick in soccer. If you were just to kick it while standing in place, you may get it towards the goal, but it's not gonna have as much power. The same if you're just shooting it from a standstill. Stepping into your shot or hopping into it gets you more rhythm and gets you that boost that you need to shoot from range. To finish off, here's two of the best shooters right now that illustrates the techniques I've highlighted above. These are a few shooting tips that I've learned and noticed more as I've watched more basketball. Shooting has deeper, unseen things like rhythm and comfort that have to be taken into account for, and it's cool to see the balance of having great form but not being too mechanical, because players are humans that have a more complicated structure than machines. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Till next time.